If you've been following my mini-series on hand tying your quilt, you may be wondering whether hand tying those little knots is the only thing that you can do. Well, no, it isn't. The limit is really down to your creativity, but I have got 5 extra techniques for you today to lift and add extra sparkle and glitz and glamour and just pizzazz to your quilts. But stick around to the end because I've got an extra one that you might want to try. So, who am I? I am Kim. This is Quilt with Kim. You, my lovely, are very, very welcome. Let's go have a look at what these 5 are and the bonus one at the end. So first up, we have got a pretty little bow. And this one I've done in stranded cotton to give it an extra bit of just thickness and pizzazz. If you remember in the last video, I said you need a thicker thread, and you can see here when we've used a thicker stranded cotton, it really gives it a bit of impact. Now, a couple of tips when you're doing the bow. With all of these, I'm going to show you use the pin underneath when you make your knot. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, go back and check out the video that I'll put up at the end. I'll also put it in the description below so you can go and find out how to tie your basic knot. But once you've done that, these are all very, very easy. Put your pin underneath with all of these. So you start with your pin underneath and you tie a normal knot, have some nice long strands, make your bow just as you would normally, but a double knot first, then make your bow and then do another little double knot on top, and that helps your bow stay nice and secure and doesn't come apart if these ends are pulled. And as this is stranded cotton, these are together at the moment, but this one's starting to separate a little bit, so you can separate them out or you can keep them together. I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. So that's your bow. So let's have a look at number 2 that you might want to try. Number 2 is buttons, and we all have thousands of buttons. Put them to good use, put them on your quilts. Now, a little safety notice, so don't switch away. If you are making the quilts for young children, please don't put any buttons on because you know what will happen. The second thing is it is better to use buttons that are shatterproof. So these ones are clay that actually I made for my City and Guilds. They're very cute, aren't they? But we've got wooden buttons also made for my City and Guilds. Actually, I think Nige probably made that one, but don't doubt City and Guilds that. So we've got wooden, or we've got the metal ones that we all seem to have got off old jackets and jeans and those kind of things. So these are nice and I was going to say unshatterable, but that's not a word, but we'll stick with it so they don't shatter. If you think that your quilt's going to get lots of rough and tumble and get a lot of use, then really err over to the wooden and the metal. But if it's just for decorative use, then we can go over to something that may break a bit more easily. I've never tried to put clay through a washing machine, but I don't think I'm going to give it a go. What I've done with these buttons, again, they all have, we start with a pin to give it the structure as we're sewing these on. This one is tied from the front, so it's exactly like our normal knots that I was showing you in the last video. So this is tied on the front. This one is tied on the back, as you can see there. It is entirely up to you which one you want to go for, depending on the look that you're, sneak preview of the next ones, depending on the look that you're trying to go for your quilt. So that's buttons. So that's number 2 and 3, where we've got buttons tied from the front and buttons tied at the back. Let's move on to number 4. And that is beads. So again, these ones I made out of clay for my City and Guilds. Again, please don't use these for young children because we do not want them picking them off and swallowing them or putting them anywhere that they shouldn't. We do not want that, so safety first, please. Again, go for shatterproof beads, so your metal or your wood, again, which would be fairly safe in the washing machine. But if it's decorative, then go for it and go for ones that will brighten up your quilt in any way you want. Again, I've put these on in exactly the same way, using the pin to give stability and then putting the thread through. Obviously, this particular bead is a long one, so you need to bring your thread up and move it along and come down at quite a distance, so it's the the length of that particular bead, which is probably about an inch or so. Beads are a great one to decorate your quilt with. Then we'll move on to number 5. So number 5 is a bit of a tassel effect. We all need a few tassels in our life. Now this one I've used stranded cotton, and I've used 2 stranded cottons here. Okay, I haven't done this side because I was going to show you what to do, but this is the standard knot. So again, put your pin in, tie your standard knot. So that's not different at this stage. Apart from I've used 2 sets of stranded cotton. They're the full 6 strands, so just as it comes off the skein or skein, however you pronounce it. And then what I've done is I've separated all the little strands, and when we've all put those together we can make a little tassel effect. So I've started doing this one, and let me show you how to do it. It does require glasses because otherwise you can't see what you're doing. But if you get a pin and you twizzle the strands in the opposite way to it's twisted, so you'll notice that it twists one way and you want to twizzle it the other way or untwist it the other way. So if you untwist it and then get your pin in beneath the strands, and you can then separate all of those out. It is actually quite satisfying, you know. So when we've finished separating them all, you've got something that's looking a bit like a horse's tail, and then all we are going to do is give it a bit of a haircut to whatever length that you want for your quilt, and then we have a little tassel going on there. So isn't that cute? There we have 5 techniques. We've got your bow, we've got some buttons tied in front and tied behind. So that's number 1, number 2, number 3. 4 is your beads, 5 is your tassel, and then I promised you a bonus one. So let's go and take a look at that. Here we are then, here's your bonus, and this is called Banjara, which is an Indian technique where they decorate, or traditionally they decorate their fabric, their clothes, their bags or whatever with little mirrors and cowrie shells, which I can't pronounce. The mirrors, I have to say, are a nightmare to stitch on because you're having to hold it whilst you stitch over the edges, but they're really effective. Again, this is for decorative quilting. It's not really for a quilt that you're going to be using every day, but if you're doing it for wall hanging or something where it's not going to get any use, you might want to have a think about using these. So these are just little mirror tiles that I got off eBay or Amazon or something. Very cheap, very easy to find. And again, these cowrie shells, let me bring this up to show you. These they weren't any easier than the mirrors to sew on, if I'm being completely honest, but these have got holes already made in them. So you don't have to worry about that, but they're designed to sew on and decorate. There we go, you can see there's a hole, just you can see the holes at the top there, but you can see how you could decorate with your shells, with your mirrors, and perhaps some buttons and beads and all sorts of things. So you can really give this lots of extra glamour. Now the thing is with the mirrors, I can't remember if I said this, so apologies if I've said it twice, but what the Banjara women believe is that if you put mirrors in your quilts, it wards off evil spirits, and we definitely don't want those in our home. So, you know, it's got added bonuses as well as making your quilts sparkle. I hope that's inspired you to go and have a play. There are no rules, just go and have some fun. So if you have been inspired, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I will love you and leave you for now and see you next time. Bye for now.